Hey y'all, this is Farley with the Writer's Edge podcast, and today I am super excited to have Dorian and Chamonix on from Summit Joint Performance on the podcast today. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
So, as I do start out most conversations, I always throw it over to my guests to kind of let them tell their story and introduce themselves, because I feel like that's one of the best ways to make sure that the story is correct and moving forward the way we need to. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. My name is Dorian Farmer. I'm the founder of Summit Joint Products, soon to be known as Summit Performance Products, as we're changing up some things internally in the company. So we will be having a small name change going on. But I'm here with Chamonix Searles, who's my vice president of operations and who basically runs the company. I'm the guy that looks after the big picture and manufacturing and stuff, and Chamonix runs the day-to-day operations along with Elisa Farmer, who's our president. So thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. So what I'm excited about today to talk to you guys about, you guys are definitely a hot topic in the circles that I run in, far as in the Western performance world, in the barrel racing, roping world, on how your product works and can help horses. So let's talk a little bit about what exactly Summit is and how that can help in your performance horses treatment.
Sure. So Summit is, it's actually funny because people write in all the time and they say, what's in your product? And it's right on the website in big letters. It's like the first sentence, but nobody ever believes it because there's got to be more stuff in it. And what Summit Equine and Summit Canine is a pure chondroitin 4 sulfate suspended in sterile water. And that's it. That's all there is in the vial. Occasionally you have to adjust for pH, so you get a little bit of something there. But other than that, the only active ingredient is chondroitin. And it's a very pure form of chondroitin. It was originally developed to go into people's eyes during corneal lens and transplant surgeons by a very famous surgeon by the name of Dr. Marvin Hausman, who actually invented the molecule and is, over the last couple of years, become a very, very close friend of mine. And he was a pediatric kidney transplant surgeon by trade, but he's probably made 100 different products from drugs to supplements and everything else throughout his lifetime. And it's kind of been his pet project to try and heal people through supplementation, both oral, injectable, and things of that sort. So that's what Summit is. It's actually a very easy product. The manufacturing of it is very complicated because when it was originally made, it had to go into people's eyes. And anytime you put something intraocularly, it has to be very pure. If you have a larger molecule, it attracts and absorbs water. And as you can imagine, in an eyeball, that's a bad thing. So normally when chondroitin gets manufactured, like the chondroitin that you eat or that you take in your glucosamine chondroitin supplements, it's got a whole bunch of different things added to it that get added during the manufacturing process. They add methanol, methane, heparin, which is a really big thing. That's why, when you're going to go in for surgery, your doctors always tell you you have to stop all your joint supplements 2 weeks in advance. It's because that chondroitin that you're taking in those supplements has heparin in it. Well, ours went through a special distillation process and still does to remove all those other extraneous molecules. So it makes it a very pure product, and really the only pure product in the world for C4S. And by doing that, it decreased the molecular size so much that the molecule is actually very easily and readily bioavailable in the body. So in other words, instead of having a big, huge molecule that's trying to get through the bloodstream, you have a very, very tiny molecule. So it gets absorbed very quickly, and it goes across semipermeable membranes like synovial capsules and things of that sort much easier than the larger molecules of our competitors.
I love that explanation because in the horse industry, we often are very skeptical, right, of what's going on, and there's so much out there, and it becomes such a fad industry of this is a hot new topic this week, and then we move on to something next week. But I just like how you break down that conversation on what your product is and how it differs from other ways that we do try to supplement our horses and ourselves to help with our joint performance.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that there's never, in the last 20 plus years, there really hasn't been anything new in our marketplace. I mean, let's face it, we've had the same big three players out there for forever, and they hold massive market shares, and they have massive advertising dollars, which they spend freely, but that doesn't mean that the product works as well. And so as a small company, it's always challenging, which is why we switched to our direct sales component to get that word out there. But we've been really blessed by we have some really strong riders across the world that use our products and believe in it, and some of them we sponsor, some of them we don't. But that international notoriety has really given us a great space in our marketplace right now. And we're only 19 months old, something like that, 20 months old. Oh, actually, I guess we're 22 months old now. We're growing. So we're still a very new company. We're just at the inception of this. So it's a great marketplace. We love what we do. I personally own horse medicine equine clinic. My wife is a veterinarian. We have 3 doctors in our practice. I used to own small animal clinics. I'm not a veterinarian. I just own the clinics and manage the clinics. But we as competitors, and I used to compete, my wife competes. I was at horse shows all this weekend. My 2 kids rode at one horse show, and I was over at HITS at the Grand Prix this weekend. So our entire lives for the last 15 years has all been about the betterment of animals, whether it's horses or dogs or cats or whatever it is. We found that niche in the veterinary world to where we could do what we loved, which was helping animals. And then when this came along, I wound up selling my small animal clinic in order to purchase this, because we saw the bigger picture. We saw that yes, we can still do what we love, which is helping animals, but we can do it on a much larger scale now. I mean, we have animals all over the world, and not just horses and dogs and cats. We have racing camels, cows in India that are sacred, that we sent over a bunch to a mission in a nonprofit over there, and they use it for their aged camels, because those camels aged cows, because those cows are sacred there in India. And so we have racing camels in Qatar, and pigs and goats, bronking bulls, about you name it, and there's somebody using our product for it. So it's really a cool way of getting out there and really being able to touch more and more people every time and every day.
That's awesome, and I love how it's going across the spectrum of all animal performance. So speak a little bit we talked about the simplicity and the pureness of your product. Speak to how that works in the horse and how that differs from other supplement therapies that have, like you said, been on the market for 20 years, and how that may look different for a horse owner who's maybe needing another avenue to help their horse.
Well, what we have found, and from a scientific and a chemical background of it, the chondroitin 4-sulfate is what actually makes up the cartilage in your joints. It's kind of like the glue that binds the connective tissues together. So whether it's a tendon or a ligament, I mean, our compound gets injected straight into holes and tendons, and it heals them, significantly quicker than anything else. But really the biggest thing is it's about the purity of the product and how quickly it can take effect. Our product, we get calls in every day. I mean, I think Chamonix would say every single day we get a call from someone, and the first words that come out of their mouth is, "You won't believe." And at first, when I first started with this, and don't get me wrong, it's always awesome to receive those calls. And it's what makes us get up out of bed in the morning and come to work, is those "you won't believe" calls. you won't believe that my dog that couldn't walk yesterday can walk today. And that's actually the reason that I bought this product. It wasn't so much for the horses. When we first got the product, Dr. Houseman had lost the manufacturing of it. He didn't have any way of having it manufactured. So his wife, who has 4 upper-level dressage horses, and my wife, who is her vet, kind of schemed together to try and get me involved in this, even though I was perfectly happy doing what I was doing, but they needed to get it manufactured. And as my wife says, well, you need to talk to my husband because he knows everybody. And in this particular case, I did know the right people. I knew a manufacturing company out in Denver that could have it manufactured for me. And so when we sat down for dinner and we started talking, I was like, sure, I'm game. But we've seen everything. I mean, as not only a competitive rider, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't very good as a competitive rider, but I did compete until I decided that it was too dangerous because I wasn't good enough. And but as a competitive rider and as owner of veterinary clinics, we tried everything. I mean, pretty much any product that's out there on the market, we have used at some point in time in our practice. And when we first got a hold of it, the first thing we did was we gave it to some of our aged brood mares. We used to have an IDF clinic, and we did ICSI at my farm. And so we have some really nice upper Grand Prix level World Cup type retired mares that are in their early to mid 20s. And so the first thing we did, if you're on my property and you're an animal, you are a guinea pig. That is just how it goes. I mean, you're the ones that are getting stuck first. So we took it and we gave it to 2 of our older brood mares that were both in their mid 20s. And 2 days later, I'm standing on the back porch and I'm out there looking, and they're running around and they're bucking and farting and playing like they were 6 again. And I look at my wife, the vet, and I'm like, H, and I'm pointing over to him. I'm like, is this normal? And she's like, nope, they feel really good. And at the same time, we were getting ready to lose my Dalmatian. My wife was the veterinarian for the Budweiser Clydesdales for many years. And so when the Clydesdales left SeaWorld, we adopted the dog. So we adopted Michelob and Ultra, the 2 Dalmatians that used to ride on the hitch at SeaWorld. We lost Michelob a few years before to back and hip problems, as Dalmatians are prone to do. And Ultra was actually older than Michelob. And she had gotten to the point where she couldn't get off the ground by herself. We were having to help her up off the ground, and then she'd walk outside, do her business, walk back inside and lay down, and that would kind of be her day. And so we had talked about end-of-life solutions for her, because I can't let an animal of mine suffer. We loved her, and I want her to go out with dignity and not in pain and everything else. But as a last-ditch effort, after I saw what was going on with the horses, I called my manufacturer. I said, listen, do me a favor, send me a 50 milligram 1 cc dose as fast as you can. I want to try something, because we had never tried it on a dog. And Ultra was the first dog that we ever did it on. And within 12 hours, Ultra could get up off the ground by herself and walk outside. Within 48 hours, she was trotting around the house and starting to play with the other dogs. The next day, which would be 72 hours in, I happened to be at my parents' house for their 50th wedding anniversary up in the Carolinas. And my wife sends me a video, and she's driving the golf cart from the back pasture to the front pasture, which is about almost 2,000 feet. And Ultra's chasing the golf cart at a dead run, tail wagging, head bobbing. And let me tell you, that dog had a blast for another year. We were going to euthanize her, and she went from being euthanized to living a normal, was she a 6-year-old? No. But she got up, she ran around, she played with the other dogs, her appetite increased, and she lived for another year. She wound up dying of a cancerous tumor on her spleen. But when we saw that was really what made the click of, okay, this is the real deal, and we really need to try and find a way of getting this, this exposed and getting this out to the masses. And that's kind of what we did, and it kind of went from there. But it's the dogs and cats and horses and pretty much everything.
And you guys have a whole plethora of stories like that now. How I got introduced to the project, to the product, was through Jessica Paris and her mare on her comeback. Yeah. And that was awesome. Very similar story. And as I tell my clients and everybody, you can't placebo affect an animal. Nope. You can't walk up to your dog or that horse and say, hey, I'm going to give you this, and you're going to jump up and down and and feel fabulous, they either will or they won't.
Yeah, like we had one a couple weeks ago, and it was a horse that was a great, and it was a reining horse, cutting horse, the one that couldn't turn to the left.
Oh, Rainer.
So it was a reining horse and had been a great reining horse his whole life. And then all of a sudden something happened and it could not turn a circle to the left. It would not even turn to the left. It would start to rear and buck and throw itself on the ground. It was so painful, it wouldn't move to the left. And they called us and they said, hey, do you think Summit will help with this? And I know my product pretty well now because I've seen it, a couple thousand times what it does. But this was one that I wasn't sure about because they didn't know the causative factor of why it wasn't doing it. At first we thought maybe it was a training issue, but when I saw the videos, it was definitely not a training issue because it would be violent about not turning to the left. And after 2 doses?
Yeah, Pepper's horse now turns to the left.
Yeah, Pepper's horse now after 2 doses turns willingly to the left. So it was obviously something inflammatory based, but it's cool because we do hear those stories, and always the first phone call we get is, you won't believe. And we actually thought about making that our tagline, you won't believe, and then we thought that might be a little bit much, so we just stuck with what we have. But that's the telephone call. And Jessica's horse was even worse. I mean, that was a horrific accident that mare had, and to have that string halt like injury, I mean, as a veterinary clinic owner, we know there is no cure for string halt. I mean, when you get it, that's kind of it. So Jessica's wasn't a true string halt, but it was similar to that in effect. And for Summit to be able to help her come back and go to Congress and do the things that she did with that mare, I mean, it's just, we're so proud to be a part of it, and we're glad that we can help. And it just, again, that's why we do this, because every day we change the life of at least 5 or 6 animals, and if you look at that over a year time, we're gonna fix animals, 1,500 animals that are going to be euthanized, that can still live a couple more years and live with dignity and live without pain. The sports side of what we do, and all the international level riders and the Grand Prix and the barrel racers, that's fantastic. But I mean, and I'm a horse guy, but at the end of the day, I'm a dog guy. I just brought one back from the beach, in the Bahamas a couple of weeks. Like I've got sucker written across my forehead at all times. But to save the lives of animals and to give them a quality of life, I mean, it's what gets us here in the morning. When some days we don't want to go into work, we're just like everybody else. There are some days where I don't want to go to work, but we know that what we do is important, and that we are affecting and changing the lives of animals on a daily basis. And so that's why we're here.
Well, it was such a blessing because when Jessica found you guys, it was very early on. As you said earlier, you guys have only been around for 22 months right now.
Yeah.
And within that mare's journey back from her injury, we were very much at a point where we were needing other therapies to come in and supplement what we were already doing through the body work that was already being done. And I think I saw that mare either first or second dose. I don't even remember now, but it was like 3 days in, 6 days in, and it was, holy smokes. Like, I was like,
what? It was crazy.
My ears perked up. I was like, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah, and that was one of those where we say, we don't get shocked about the you won't believes anymore. Jessica's, I was shocked. I truly, and I'm really honest with people. There are some, especially when it's a mechanical injury. I mean, our product helps well with inflammatory processes that are caused by exercise and injuries and stuff like that. But true mechanical injuries, sometimes it's not going to help. And then so with hers, I wasn't sure, but there's always secondary effects of injuries, inflammation and pain and things of that sort. And so although our product it's not a pain reliever at all, it's not NSAID or anything like that, there's nothing that masks anything. It just helps take care of the root causes of pain. And sometimes if you can do that and you can just get things to settle down inside their bodies, they will heal themselves much faster. It's not so much our product that's causing them to heal, but our product will give them the ability to heal themselves sometimes, I think. And I think that's what's so great about it. We're not masking pain. It's not, we're not deadening nerve ends or anything like that. We're just fixing the root cause of it.
Well, that's a great holistic approach to take to it, because I'm a firm believer that whether we're talking about horses, dogs, or people, the body has all the tools it needs to heal itself. And so, we have to set up that environment correctly for that, to allow the body to heal and come back to homeostasis and where it needs to be.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, chondroitin 4-sulfate is manufactured in our body. It's just sometimes there's just not enough of it there. And when you give our product, and so the bad part about it is nobody truly knows how chondroitin works in the body. I mean, it would be great that I can tell you, the chemical processes of what happens. Nobody knows. I mean, the Russians attached radioactive isotopes to it to see where it goes in the body. It just broke apart. We have, and as I grew in this business, of course, I'm not a supplement guy or a drug guy or a chemist or anything like that. I'm just a business person. But I've learned a lot about chondroitin, as you can imagine, in the last couple of years. And the one thing is that they really don't actually know all the processes that make it work. But there's so many of them. There's so many different modalities of what happens in the body whenever you take a chondroitin supplement like Summit. It's pretty cool, and it does a lot of different things. We just don't know exactly which process is affecting which, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and that from somebody who studies how processes work, that can be frustrating at times. Oh, yeah.
If you look at everything else that's on the market, like what I didn't know when I first started this is that most drugs, they still don't know how most drugs work. They know what it does, they know the effects, they know the side effects, but in all reality, for a lot of products out there, they can't tell you the process by which it does what it does. And there's still a lot about our bodies that we don't know. And the more I learn and the more I grow in this business, the more amazed I am every day about how our bodies work and how they will heal themselves if you give them the right amount of things to do. And our product just happens to be one that works exceptionally well for that. And if you have an injury, or if you're a competitive rider and you train hard, then our product makes a lot of sense for that. If you have geriatric horses or geriatric dogs, cats, it truly changes their lives. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that as a sales pitch. I mean, truly, it changes their lives. And we have hundreds of videos and testimonials and everything else. And these aren't people we pay or anything else. We don't pay our sponsored riders. I give them some free product to use, and that's it. But we have, the #1 rider in the U.S. in the Olympic show jumping team. He's earned more gold medals than anybody else in the world. Rodrigo Pessoa called us a few weeks ago and started using our product. And we didn't call him, but he's earned more medals and been to more Olympics than anyone else in the world. So getting those phone calls is so cool whenever, they're getting referred by other people. And that's how our business has really grown from from word of mouth. We don't do a lot of advertising. I sponsor a horse show here and there, but I don't do magazine advertising. We do a little bit of stuff on Facebook, but our business grew almost completely by word of mouth, just people telling their stories to their friends and their barn mates and the people that they compete against. So that was why when we were, last year we were great in Florida. We took a good sizable chunk of business here in Florida. But then I flew out to California to go to a horse show, and nobody had ever heard of Summit. No one, except for Uma O'Neill, who's one of our sponsored riders, and she rides for she rides for New Zealand. And I didn't even know who Uma was, but she's now become a really great friend and just a sweet woman. But yeah, she's got 5 Grand Prix horses, and every horse was on it. And I didn't know who she was, but nobody else knew about us. So the question became, how do we spread across the country? How do we get this message out? And so, I could have spent a couple $1 million on advertising and putting banner ads everywhere and my banners all over the place. And we decided instead of doing that to start trying and reward the people who are already doing our job, which is telling everybody else about it, which is why we switched to the direct sales model. And so now, every barn manager in the country who's already using our product and getting it for all their people that are at their barns, well, now they can make a commission by selling it to those people, and they can help pay for their horse addiction. And we all know that it's addiction. Anybody that says that equines are not an addiction is just wrong, because it is. I have 9 of them myself. I'm down from 28. And if you marry a veterinarian, guess what? You're going to get a lot of horses. That's how that goes. And so, we switched to that model, and it's just been spectacular. The response we've had in the last 3 months, I think in 3 months, we have over 300 representatives across the country now selling our product to their friends and their competitors and the people at the horse shows. And it's just been great. And because they already have all those stories. So all people really have to do is go and tell their stories, go tell their summit stories, and it works.
That's awesome. And I mean, that's how I learned about it. And I think that's a very unique aspect to what you guys are doing with your product and taking it a different avenue with getting it out there. Because at the end of the day, if all of our horses are performing better, then all boats will rise with a rising tide.
Yeah. Well, and you're a barrel racer, right?
Yes. And roper. Yes.
So the one thing that we found with barrel horses, and this is not across the board every time, nothing is an absolute in life, but we have found that most people, if they go to a barrel race and they do a run on Friday, and they give their horse a shot of summit on Friday, which is perfectly legal. It's legal with a jockey club, FEI, every international group across the country we're perfectly legal with. And you give a shot after you run on Friday. On Saturday, if you don't screw it up, you'll run a half a second faster. That's why in Florida, if you're not on summit, you have a really hard time winning a barrel race in the state of Florida, because most people are on it, and the people that are good are definitely on it. And that was the first barrel race I went to when after I bought Summit. I went with a friend of mine, and she's like, let's just go to a barrel race and set up a table. And I'm like, sure. I haven't been to a barrel race in probably 25 years. And because I switched to the 100 jumper world, but I used a barrel race when I was younger, and it was great. So we gave away 2 doses of Summit to 2 random girls. Now they were both good, so don't get me wrong, they weren't slouches, they were good, but I didn't know that at the time. And so they were there on Friday, and they run their training runs, and so we gave them each a dose of Summit to try. And the next day they were first and second out of 800 runs. And so the announcer over the PA is telling them, well, any of you girls want to go and compete with those 2, you better go to the Summit Joint Performance booth. We sold over 280 doses in about 6 hours. And it was amazing. But it is. I mean, it allows them, it's not so much in the straightaway, but it allows them to turn tighter and more fluidly. It allows them to get their hind end up underneath them. So it works. It works for barrel racers. Absolutely eat this stuff up, because it's all about speed. I mean, it's kind of like in the jumpers, whoever gets over the fences first wins. With you guys, whoever gets around those barrels first wins. And if you can take a half a second off, you're going from a mid 2D to winning the 1D in a half a second. So, and that was what we found. And it's pretty consistent across the board. If you talk to your other barrel racers that have tried it, they're all running faster than they've ever run before. They're all setting records. So, personal records, and it's awesome. It's good to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can only imagine the stampede you guys had at that barrel race.
Well, it was cool because no one knew who we were, right? I mean, nobody, sure. And this is in Florida because this was at the very beginning. Nobody had ever heard of Summit, and so all of a sudden we got these 2 girls that are winning the 1D pretty significantly. And then the announcer starts talking about how, because the girls went up and told him, hey, listen, I've never run this fast, and this is why. And so, yeah, it was a good day for Summit that day, I'll admit.
So if we have anybody out there, barrel racers, ropers, we don't discriminate here at Rider's Edge, nor do we at Summit, that are wanting to get a hold of your product. Take us through the process of how they get that into their barns.
Well, Farley, are you a representative yet?
No, not yet.
Are you going to be?
Yes. We just haven't gotten it done. We just haven't gotten that conversation done, apparently.
Well, so what's going to happen is at the end of my call with you, Chamonix here is going to set you up an account. It takes about 2 minutes. And then what is the name of our podcast here?
Rider's Edge.
Rider's Edge. So what is going to be is somebody's going to go to www.summitjp.com. So Summit, then JP is in joint performance.com/Rider's Edge.
Okay.
No, nothing else after it, just Rider's Edge. And you're going to go straight to that website link, and then you can do everything straight through there. And guess what? You're going to get credit for it all.
Okay.
Because that's going to be your dedicated website. It's the same thing that we do with everybody. So the process is very simple to if you decide, try the product, you like the product, you know the product, and you actually want to sell the product, then you can go through and go straight to Farley's site, and you can become a consultant. And the cost to become a consultant is $99. And with that, you get a starter kit with 2 doses of Summit, either equine or canine. You get a specialized embossed notebook, you get a polo shirt, you get a big banner that says that you're a representative, and then you get a bunch of marketing materials and some other books to help you get started. So it's a $99 cost to get started, but you get a lot more than $99 worth of product and other stuff. I think it's about a $200 value. So we give away quite a bit, and 'cause we want you guys to have all the tools that you need to start your own business, because really, that's what we've done is we've made a business in a box for people. There are going to be people that are going to make $200, $300, $400, $500 a month at this because they want a little part-time job that's going to help supplement their equine, income. And then there's going to be people that are going to make, $10,000, $15,000 a month. Those are few and far in between. But those people work at it, and it's their job. That's what they do for a job. So it's set up that you can do as much or as little as you want. And we would love to have you as one of our representatives, and I think it would be great.
Awesome.
We hadn't talked about that, by the way. For anybody listening, that was completely off the cuff. So I completely set Farley up right there. So sorry about that.
No, don't apologize. That's why I love
what I do.
Yeah, that's why I love doing this way, because before we hit record, I was like, we're just going to have an organic conversation that just kind of goes wherever it goes. And so here we are. So yeah, I would love to be a part of you guys' company. So I appreciate that so much.
Right there.
So yeah. Oh, I love it. So I think we've hit most of the high points here today. We've talked about what you guys are, where you've come from, where you're going, and how to find you guys.
Yeah, and so the main website is summitjp.com. If you have any questions about the product or being a representative or anything else, please feel free to email us at info@summitjp.com. And one of us here at the home office will get back to you. We try and answer every email as quickly as it comes in. If it comes in at nighttime, we're sleeping, so we answer it first thing the next morning. But generally, we try and get stuff done, same day. Perfect.
Well, I appreciate you guys' time and help in furthering the conversation here today. I love being able to have conversations with people throughout the industry and how they can help with their horses' performance and moving things forward.
Well, we appreciate you having us, Farley, and anytime we'll be happy to come back and talk more, because it's what I do.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on today, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And as always, I will see you down the road.
Bye, Farley.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Rider's Edge podcast today. We appreciate your time and attention. Thank you for always helping us move the conversation forward. If you liked today's podcast, please help us keep the conversations going by subscribing to this podcast, and consider leaving us a review so others can find us and join in on the conversations. You can also find more information by checking us out on our social media channels, including Facebook at Riders Edge Therapy and Wellness, Instagram at Riders Edge Therapy, and our website, www.ridersedgetherapy.com. It is there that you can book a consult for either you or your horse. Thank you, and as always, we will see you down the road.